You bring up a good point. We need to really have a very frank discussion in the aftermath of the election, considering the voices that we heard on the left, considering who was out there shilling for Hillary Clinton and why they were so wrong. We do need to have a very in-depth conversation about why are these people being given platforms. And I'm going to shout someone out tonight because Jamelle Bouie. It's like Jamelle Bouie needs to have a sit down conversation with Jamelle Bouie about, hey, why are you
one of those dark Kermit things?
Yeah, wait, one of those dark no, because I think a lot of these people out there, whether they be Richard Spencer or Mila, and it's not to compare their ideas or the veracity of the ideas or even the acceptance of the ideas, but I think a lot of people who go out there and have these big audiences where they or have their voices elevated, believe it's because what they're saying is unique and good and well thought out, and it's representative. In the case of Jamelle Bouie, representative of an entire community of people, right? And I think that they need to have one of those dark Kermit moments and go, hey, maybe my voice is being elevated because either it affirms the status quo or because it doesn't really challenge it at all.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's Jamelle Bouie's thing, right? He thinks that because he's black and because he's giving the quote unquote black because
I'm laughing at how quick David got that picture up.
And because because he's going out there and giving the black perspective.
He looks like a young Armstrong Williams.
He does actually, but this is a conversation we need to have with all of our oppressed class spokespeople. They need to have with themselves, rather. They have this moment with themselves.
That's what it looks like.
Is my voice being elevated because I'm critiquing the system to the best of my ability, or is my voice being elevated because I'm putting a black face or a female?
But why would you critique the system when you can make $250,000 a year? I
think they've convinced themselves that they are speaking the black case. At least
they are. They're speaking the black case. They're not speaking the black working class, the black poor, or even the black struggling, allegedly middle class case.
Exactly. Right? But they don't recognize that their voice, as the voice of black people, denies the plurality of blackness. What they think is that they think that they're able to, with their single voice, give voice to the voiceless. But no, actually, what they're doing is they're co-opting other people's stories. Their story by nature of their class and their sexuality or whatever intersection they exist within. Exist on rather. So got my prepositions mixed up. Critiques the system the least, and that's why their voice is being elevated.
No, man, you don't have to cut off every time I open my mouth. I like
it's your show. It's been different show.
I do like the difference.
But the Brandon show.
Brandon, all right. The only thing I would say different than what you're saying with regard to them, it's not that they don't know that these people exist. It's not that they are trying to co-opt their stories, but they actually, if you ask them, they believe. If you get into a conversation with people like Jamelle Bouie, they have the same condescending gaze towards the working class black community as wealthy white people have towards white working class. And then they buy into this meritocracy. They look at them and say, oh, you didn't work hard enough. You didn't go to the right school. And so instead of having that conversation, they just act like they don't exist and then have this ability to try to speak on behalf of everyone. But just let's ignore all those dredges of society, of society in the black community.
Liberals practice the 2 P's of politics: pander and patronize. It's like that. Like that's the thing. And my only point is, my larger point was this. It's and I go back to my earlier point. Like these minority or oppressed faces within the democratic community at the highest levels simply give the illusion of diversity. But there is no diversity. There is no intersectionality there. Like what it is, it's like I said, it's the exact opposite of intersectionality. It's entirely homogenous in terms of wealth, with just different faces. But by nature of the fact that it's not homogenized by color, they think that they're doing something better. They think they're doing better about it. And that makes them, and that makes them a little bit more difficult to deal with.
And they're soft as I'm sorry, I got people in the room. They are so cornball soft and cowardly. I remember the only interaction I ever had with Jamelle Bouie was some milquetoast exchange. And next thing I know, I'm blocked by so many black liberals. It's hilarious. I'm like, I thought y'all were like, you know, black. I
Down the
thought you had
ride.
some thick skin. I thought you had some melanin in your skin. You should have some endurance, some resistance. And they all just like they're so coddled in their ivory towers that they can't handle being approached by the riffraff.
They can't deal with counter narratives. They can't deal with an argument between two black. They can't deal with an argument between
stupid Twitter and the automatic videos. I'm scrolling down and there's someone's live streaming one of the ICE anti-protests.
But we saw that they can't deal with a narrative that disrupts their bubble. And we saw it with Nancy Pelosi when she was asked in a room full of liberals, "Hey, maybe liberalism is wrong." She froze. She was like, I've never, because she's probably never heard that out loud. She's probably never actually.
Then they're not prepared. They're
not prepared.
100% not prepared to lead the resistance, and they need to step aside.
Because they can never actually resist the structural qualities of Trump. They can only resist Trump, but they can only offer like 2 steps back off the edge. And how much of that is intentional? How much of that is them thinking that they know better? You know, how much of that is them like I don't know, and I guess it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter.
I think they don't care. I think they're enjoying their checks and they know exactly what the hell they're doing, because the way of the world now, social media, they hear these counter narratives whether they want to hear them or not. They're thrown in their face, and they would rather pretend as if they don't know, so that they don't ever have to put their income at risk. Because once you get over a certain income bracket and you get that lifestyle, you can't afford to lose your MSNBC job, Joy A. Reid. So you become the better man. I'm sorry.
Join in on the fun, Ben. We all do it. We all throw our shots. Like someday we'll actually have to, like, you know, deal
account
with it,
for all the stuff.
Account for it, but you know, whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
hey, that's a beautiful thing, though. When you build your own thing, you don't care who gonna fire us.
But part of why, just to give everybody a little context, part of the reason why we're talking about Jamelle Bouie in particular is Jamelle Bouie had an exchange. I forget the other with a white reporter who wrote a series. Yeah, he was talking about basically the fact that where people are being short-sighted, that because Black working class people want the same thing that white working class people do, jobs. Black working class people have been severely impacted by the closing of factories, et cetera, loss of, high-paying union-type jobs, things of that nature. And then he was also saying that there, from his experiences, from people he had been talking to, that there is actually more of a sentiment of people who are open to the possibility of Trump, and that Trump could possibly pick up votes, right, in this voting block going into 2020, if he were to run for re-election. And so, Jamelle Bouie goes into this whole launches in this whole race. You know what you're talking about, white boy. Ooh, look at you. Your journalistic voyeurism, your voyeuristic journalism. You went and talked to some Black people, but there was a really good piece that he did a year or two ago about Selma. And how, we think about Selma, we think about the movie, we think about, the civil rights movement and the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And, that's where John Lewis became an icon. But one of the things they're talking about how it's 80% Black. Selma's 80% Black. It has such a high unemployment rate. All types of stuff. And underdeveloped, it's just so much going on detrimentally there. And we see this in a lot of places, right? And still we will have the good Blacks, the good Negroes who read like Jamelle Bouie making this race case without looking at the undergird of the economic structure that doesn't run across. We've seen this happen to communities from parts of Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Cleveland. We've seen this all the way across through Milwaukee and stuff like that. But these people aren't taking the time to actually talk to folks, to the brother on the block. Like I admit that I was, when Craig went to the barbershop, was going to the barbershop during the primaries and stuff, and he was like, and he'd hear me talking Bernie. He's like, people are not talking about Bernie. They're not talking about Hillary Clinton. When I go to the barbershop, people are actually talking about Donald Trump. And I was floored. Floored. He's such a joker.
I mean, what's up with that? Why would Jamelle Bouie ever ask a Black person what they think? Jamelle Bouie's Black, so he can tell you what a Black person thinks, and that's the problem right there. And see, and let me let's parse this out too. The liberal, the Democrats. Let's parse this out. Unpack this. I actually hate that word, but let's unpack this. Right, the part of the Democrat strategy, like they deny the multiplicity of the working class. There is no black working class according to Democrats. Right. If you listen to their language, the working class is entirely staffed by vaguely racist white males who have everything in life going for them, and if they're complaining, it's because they don't like women, they don't like black people, and this denial that there is a black working class, and if there is a black working class, that they have any issues beyond the fact that they are black is troubling, because the Democrats are operating under stereotypes, and the reason they operate under that stereotype of the working class is because it's politically expedient for them. It's like the white working class or the white rural Southerner, like as the you're atypical racist, that's your stereotypical racist. It's how the Democrats disguise their own racism. It's like they have made, like, the Democrats, as part of their larger political strategy, have made racism and sexism, phobia, and anti-immigration, all these things, they have made them intrinsic qualities of certain populations, and they have homogenized those populations to deny the fact that the Democratic Party are some of the biggest causes in the past 30 years of the structural and social realities that have contributed to our race, all of these problems. So what they do is they say, hey, that they do. Racism is something that occurs in the South and doesn't occur in New York City. Racism is something that occurs in West Virginia, and West Virginia might as well entirely be like slack-jawed yokels. They don't have any real problems, and that's why you can have President Obama get on stage and not on stage, but can have President Obama congratulate Michael Bloomberg for his work in New York City while Stop and Frisk went on. And people don't think that, hey, isn't that supporting a racist regime in New York City? Because there is no racism in New York City.
That's why Hillary Clinton could have Michael Bloomberg on stage during the DNC endorsing her, and right on the same night as the Mothers of the Movement, right? And so, nobody blinks.
When we talk about tactics of the resistance, right? One of the tactics of the resistance has got to be that we have to wrestle back the ability to define racism, leftism, progressivism. We cannot allow the Democrats, and especially not the establishment liberal Democrats, the domination of these terms, because they misuse them. And when it just so happens, crazy coincidence, that just you're a Democrat. Just putting the D after your name, that easy D. Is that what that stands for? I don't know. Just putting the D after your name, it gives you this veil of righteousness, this shroud of righteousness.
You can never with one exception. Only if you don't pose a threat. Well, no. If you don't pose a threat to the agenda of the establishment Democrats, as soon as you turn the corner and pose a threat to the establishment, then you are the racist. You are the real racist. Ask Bernie Sanders.
Oh, yeah, basically, Democrats have said that quality of being a Democrat, that you can't be racist, and you can't be any kind of oppressor at all. Like we're all allies, and we're all oppressed classes, and they are unequipped to deal with the America, because the Democratic Party is a circle jerk.